In this video, I'm going to answer for you the question why IMG doctors or international medical graduates are unable to undertake a medical internship in Australia and what your alternative options might be. G'day, Dr. Anthony Llewellyn here, the Career Doctor, and welcome to another video where I break down for you the medical career process in Australia. Today, I'm answering one of the most frequent questions that I receive from international doctors or IMGs, which is, can I do an internship in Australia? And if not, why not? As well as, what are my other options? So let's cut to the chase here. Very few internationally trained doctors are even eligible to apply for the internship positions in Australia. And even those who may be eligible are pretty unlikely to receive one. Now, there are two key reasons why this is the case. The first one is that the medical internship system in Australia is reserved for graduates of Australian and occasionally New Zealand medical schools, and there are rarely any spare posts available for anyone else who might want to apply. More about this matter shortly. Now, the second reason why IMGs can't do internships in Australia is that the majority of IMG doctors don't need to do an internship in Australia because most IMG doctors who want to work in Australia have already done an internship and usually a few more years of clinical practice. So if this sounds like you and you want to work as a doctor in Australia, then you should be investigating the registration pathway that is relevant to you and think about applying for a position suited to that particular pathway. I will link to my video on registration pathways here and below, but in short, you're probably either looking for a resident medical officer job or a registrar trainee job, or maybe even a specialist job, depending on your circumstances, and not an internship. Now, in 2022, there are at least 3,779 medical internships available across Australia, which does sound like a lot, and perhaps maybe that there's a few to spare, but once you consider that, according to the official reports of the Medical Deans of Australia and New Zealand, that there are 4,048 medical students in Australia due to graduate, then that 3,779 figure becomes a little bit tighter. The internship year in Australia is actually considered to be an extension of your medical school training or an interim phase that you must pass through before you are truly considered to have entered the postgraduate phase of training in this country. Or to put it another way, successful completion of an internship is the last step that you must complete after graduating from medical school in order to be considered a fully fledged medical practitioner. So this is why you are only granted general registration in Australia after you complete your intern year. Now, 30 years ago, obtaining general registration was considered to be a really big deal because it meant that you could either continue in the hospital system or start practicing as a general practitioner. Things have changed now, so you have to train and specialize in general practice first if that's the route you want to go down. And that's a good thing, but general registration is still a requirement for entry into any specialty training program in Australia. So hopefully you can now see why an internship is essential for Australian medical graduates or graduates of Australian medical schools, and why it is that the whole internship system in Australia is set up to enable medical graduates of Australian medical schools to obtain an internship, and why it would be impractical to allow for other large groups of doctors who might be interested in doing an internship to have access to this pool of particular job positions. And that is why the rules of applying for internship generally exclude IMG doctors from applying. So why is there so much confusion about this particular matter? And why do so many IMG doctors contact me about how to obtain an internship when that's not what they need to do? Well, I think the confusion mainly comes in when you go to look at the requirements for registering via the standard pathway with the Medical Board of Australia. You can see here that the standard pathway is the most common pathway that most IMGs utilise when attempting to gain recognition as a doctor in Australia. Now, under this pathway, you need to complete a certificate called the Australian Medical Council Certificate, which demonstrates your knowledge and skills are appropriate. And you need to also demonstrate satisfactory performance by working in a supervised position. And that has to be for 12 months. This requirement to do 12 months of supervision and the associated advice about what constitutes satisfactory performance is what creates the confusion, in my opinion, because you can see that the medical board itself references the intern training standards and intern outcomes in its document. So I can fully understand why IMGs might think that they need to obtain an internship to meet these standards. So I do think that the medical board could do a slightly better job of explaining that whilst they are referencing the intern standards, they expect that the IMG doctors obtain alternative positions that allow them to demonstrate these standards, and that intern posts are reserved for Australian medical graduates. Okay, so what are the alternative positions then? What jobs can IMG doctors or doctors from overseas apply for if not internships? Well, it partly depends on your level of experience, what country you did your medical degree in, and any postgraduate qualifications that you might have. But as a general rule, if you are a relatively junior or trainee doctor from another country and you're attempting the standard pathway process for registration in Australia, then you want to look for jobs that have something like resident medical officer in the title. If you find a position like this, then the next thing you need to do is skip down to the selection criteria and look for a statement something like this: eligible for registration with the Medical Board of Australia. This statement generally means that an IMG doctor can apply for this particular position. For more information about this subject, see my other videos on the topics. And by the way, if you are seeking further advice about your personal situation, I do offer a risk-free call where you can discuss with me one-on-one your particular situation, and we can clarify any doubts you have and develop a strategy for you. Please subscribe if you're getting value from my videos, and I will see you in another video. Bye for now.